Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the June 2018 episode of Lunch with a Lawyer. Today we're going to talk about the effect that New Jersey traffic tickets can have on a New Jersey commercial driver's license. Obviously, people with commercial driver's licenses, or as I'll refer to them briefly in this video, CDL, often that is their livelihood. They drive for a living. If they lose their license, either temporarily or permanently, they can't work. And this can cause a serious problem for them in making a living. So I wanted to talk about when you need to worry. All right, if you have a commercial driver's license, when you need to worry that that license may be in jeopardy if you get a traffic ticket here in New Jersey. Now I'm going to mention, just as I said, these Lunch with a Lawyer episodes are meant to be informational, to educate you and make you aware of information and tips, but they don't replace legal advice. So what I would suggest to you is educate yourself from this video, and should you be a holder of a commercial driver's license and be facing certain traffic tickets, then talk to an attorney being made aware of these issues and get a legal opinion on your personal situation. So naturally, people with commercial driver's licenses here in New Jersey are held to a higher standard than those that have regular driver's licenses for non-commercial vehicles. So certain tickets and certain things can have higher penalties or certain additional penalties that you shouldn't be aware of. And I'm going to go through the most common of them. Most of them you need to be concerned about. This is not meant to be an exhaustive video that would take much longer than the half an hour I try to keep this to. Again, see an attorney. But this covers, I would say, 90%, 90-95% of the situations you may find yourself in if you get a traffic ticket and you have a commercial driver's license. Now, let's go through some of the tickets. What happens if you're driving while your commercial driver's license has been suspended or revoked? Now, the sentencing and consequences depend upon whether this is your first offense or second or subsequent offense. For a first offense, your CDL will be suspended for 1 year. 1 to 3 years, actually. It's a range of 1 to 3 years. But it becomes 3 years mandatory if you are transporting hazardous materials or your truck is placarded for carrying hazardous materials. So it's more severe there. Fines of up to $5,000. Okay, that's quite a bit more than what you would ever face for suspension of a regular driver's license. Of course, court costs of $33 and a surcharge of $6 if you plead guilty in court after a not guilty plea. It can also carry jail time of up to 90 days in addition to or instead of fines. And if you got into an accident while driving on a suspended CDL and there was personal injury, it's $5,000 costs and 90 days in jail. Okay, so a lot more serious if there's personal injury. Now, if you're driving while your basic driving privileges were suspended, sometimes your CDL might be suspended, but your personal driver's license was not. But if your personal was suspended as well, you would face, in addition to the penalties I just described for driving on a suspended commercial driver's license, you would face also the penalties for driving on your suspended regular driver's license. Now, for a second or subsequent offense, everything is the same except your commercial driver's license will be suspended for life. Okay, so don't do it a second time. But there is a provision under that after 10 years you can reapply for a commercial driver's license and try and convince them you should get one again. So there's a possibility that it'll be reissued, but at the very least, even if it isn't for life, it's 10 years, which is a long time not to be able to work as a commercial driver. Now, let's talk about the ticket of leaving the scene of an accident. Now, even for a regular driver's license, this is a very serious offense, especially if there's been property damage or someone was injured. You've been in an accident. The idea is don't leave, because at the very least, if there's property damage, that person's vehicle might be disabled, and they may need someone there to help render them assistance. And certainly if they're injured as well, you're leaving them and they may be in dire need of medical attention, and you've left, and they may not be able to call for help or call 911. So leaving the scene can be a very serious offense. And now, as I said, the penalties for a CDL holder can depend upon whether there was personal injury or property damage, whether it's a first or subsequent offense. If there's been personal injury or death and it's a first offense, again, it's a suspension of 1 to 3 years of your CDL, unless you were transporting hazardous materials or were placarded for that, and then it's a mandatory 3 years. Your basic driving privileges will also be suspended for 1 year. So this is where you were driving a commercial vehicle and you left the scene. Your basic driving privilege is suspended as well. A fine of $500 to $1,000. Again, your court costs of $33, surcharge of $6 if you plead guilty in court. And then a jail term of 180 days in addition to or instead of the fines. Very serious. That's a first offense where there's personal injury or death in leaving the scene. But whatever, if it's a second or subsequent offense, lifetime suspension of your CDL. A fine of $1,000 to $2,000. The fine's double. Again, court costs and surcharge, and a jail term of 180 days instead of it, or in addition to the fines. Now, what if there wasn't personal injury or death? Thank God, but just property damage. Well, for a first offense, again, the same 1 to 3 years, with 3 years mandatory with the hazardous materials or placard. Basic driving privileges are suspended for 6 months. Again, this is if you do it while driving a commercial vehicle. Your basic driving privilege is suspended for 1 month, for 6 months, even though your CDL for 1 to 3 years. A fine of $200 to $400, same court costs and surcharge, and then jail term of 30 days in addition to or instead of the fines. First offense, property damage. Second or subsequent offense, property damage. 1 to 3 years, again, suspension of the CDL, same 3-year mandatory for hazardous chemicals. Basic driving privilege suspended for 1 year, not 6 months, a year. Fines are now $400 to $600, and the jail term is, instead of 30 days, it's 30 to 90 days. So, again, and this is kind of a double whammy between your regular and your commercial driver's license. So that's leaving the scene of an accident. But what happens with your CDL if if you've been stopped for drunk driving and you refuse the breathalyzer? Okay. Now, this has to do with if you're pulled over for driving a commercial vehicle. Okay, at the time, for a first offense, loss of basic driving privileges for 2 consecutive 6-month periods. Loss of your commercial driver's license for 1 to 3 years. Same mandatory 3 years we talked about. And you could be treated as a second offender if the refusal is in connection with a second or subsequent DWI. All right. So, again, very serious. Second offense, basic driving privileges for 2 consecutive 2-year periods. Okay. Lifetime loss of your commercial driver's license. And again, for the after 10 years, you can apply to have that have it reinstated or get a new commercial driver's license. The only good news in this is it's unclear as to whether the suspension of your commercial driver's license and your regular driver's license must be served separately, consecutively, or together concurrently. So that's refusing the breathalyzer. Well, what if you take the breathalyzer, okay, and you get a reading that indicates what's called a per se violation? In other words, the blood alcohol content is above a certain level, and therefore based on known science or reliable science that we have right now with these machines, you're considered under the influence. Well, if you were just driving your personal vehicle, then you would have to have a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or higher for a per se violation. That's not to say that if it's lower, you can't be convicted of drunk driving, but the breathalyzer doesn't indicate that dead bang. There has to be other evidence of impairment, and it can often be more difficult to prove, and a lot of times you can get it pled down. But that's 0.08 for your regular vehicle. If you are charged with drunk driving in a commercial vehicle, then the threshold is 0.04%. Okay, not 0.08, but 0.04. So you may be in a situation where you have a reading of 0.04, 05, 06, 07, whatever it is, that is a per se violation for a commercial vehicle, but it may not threaten your regular driver's license. But a lot of times these things are prosecuted and the readings are 0.08 or higher, so the distinction really isn't there. But there is that, again, commercial drivers are held to a higher standard. So if you're driving a commercial vehicle, you're considered to be impaired at a much lower level, 0.04% instead of 0.08 or higher. For first offense, drunk driving, your CDL will be suspended for 1 to 3 years. And again, it must be 3 years with a hazardous chemical thing. So that's the standard suspension and the others, but for drunk driving. For a second offense, lifetime loss of the CDL. And again, reinstatement up to 10 years. Now, these punishments, again, are listed just for the commercial driver's license. If you have a regular license, then you can be convicted of both of them, okay, for your regular license and your commercial driver's license. So, again, very serious, can have a huge impact on your life and ability to work. Beyond just someone who has a regular license where they may have to carpool, have their spouse drive them, or they have to take public transport or something like that because they can't drive to work. You can't work if you drive for a living. So those are the main violations, driving while suspended, leaving the scene, refusing a breathalyzer, DUI, that have their own penalties. But again, holders of CDLs are held to a higher standard when it comes to some other violations, what are called serious motor vehicle violations. Now, these don't automatically threaten your CDL if you have one, but you don't want to make a habit of getting them. What I mean by that is it has to be repeated violations. Okay, we're talking about violations of these motor vehicle statutes more than once in a 3-year period of time. Okay, if there's no action is usually taken on a first offense. Okay, so if you get one of these violations, and I'll go over them in a moment, usually they won't take action against your CDL if it's the first one. Second one or subsequent one after that, within that 3-year period of time, then you're facing problems. You're facing a 60-day administrative suspension of your CDL, which becomes a 120-day suspension for a third of subsequent offense within those 3 years. So, first time, usually nothing. Second time within 3 years, 60-day administrative suspension. In other words, you may go to court and get convicted of that in court, and there may be other penalties there, but Motor Vehicle Commission will administratively suspend your CDL. Now, those offenses are speeding, and not just speeding, but being convicted of going more than 14 miles an hour over the limit. So under New Jersey law, a 4-point or 5-point speeding ticket, not just a 2-point ticket. You got a little lead-footed. That's not considered serious under this. Reckless driving, improper or erratic lane changes. You're weaving in traffic, and you can imagine the problems that can cause if you're driving a tractor trailer, okay, and tailgating, getting too close, okay. So those are the things that can happen. And also the scary thing is a lot of the problems, these can happen even if you're not driving a commercial vehicle, okay. So for DUI, a first offense, even in your personal vehicle, 1 year suspension of your driver's license. Second or subsequent offense, lifetime. Okay. Leaving the scene, first offense 1 year, second or subsequent, lifetime. All right. So you got to be careful of those. Now, you can also face problems with out of state. So let's say you get a ticket in another state. Are you out of the woods? No, because the states talk to each other. They're interstate compacts. This information is traded on especially commercial licenses. Okay, so you get a ticket in another state. Say you're an over-the-road trucker and you're driving all over the country and you get a ticket in another state. It could still affect your CDL. Okay, so if you're out of state, if you're driving your commercial vehicle at the time, all right, and the charge must be substantially similar to New Jersey statutes on drunk driving, leaving the scene of an accident, using a commercial vehicle in the commission of a crime, refusing the breathalyzer, driving while suspended, and a second conviction in a 3-year period of a serious motor vehicle violation, what we talked about before. So you're still in trouble and get into trouble if it happens in another state. So that's a problem. So again, if you, hello Lori, thanks for joining. Sorry I came in a little late. Be sure to watch the replay once I'm finished. So if you're driving, so just be careful. If you get one of these tickets, talk to a lawyer, okay? It's very important. If you have basically, if you have a commercial driver's license and you get a ticket in New Jersey or a ticket in another state, talk to a New Jersey lawyer. Find out. Get a legal opinion on your situation as to whether your commercial driver's license is at risk as a result of this ticket you received. May not be, okay? But this is your livelihood. This could be at risk if you don't do certain things or are careful about this. A lot of times you may get a charge of, for example, if it's reckless driving. Remember, careless driving is not considered a serious motor vehicle violation, okay? So if you're ticketed with reckless driving, maybe you can get it pled down to careless driving, okay? If you got a speeding ticket where you're going, it's a 4 or 5 point speeding ticket, and you get it pled down to a 2-point speeding ticket, or if you have a New Jersey license, maybe unsafe operation and avoid speeding altogether, okay? Improper erratic lane changes, tailgating, all of that can be pled down in a plea bargain, okay? Again, your case, your mileage may vary, your case may be different, but you can see what I'm saying, that a lot of times by having a lawyer represent you that can negotiate with the prosecutor, may be able to come up with a deal or a solution that may not threaten your CDL. So this is something to just be concerned about. So, not bad, about 20 minutes. Let you get back to lunch. That's it for this episode of Lunch with a Lawyer. I hope you found it informational. Feel free to leave a comment in the comments. And if you like this video, hello Julia, thanks for joining. Sorry you came in late. Again, go back and feel free to watch the full video. Leave a comment. If you like the video, please click like. If you love the video, click love. Even better, if you've seen this and you know somebody that has a commercial driver's license, say, you know what, I think this person might want to know this stuff. And again, not because they may have gotten a ticket, but maybe it's just good to know. Share it, okay? Share it with them on their wall. Just share it in general. If you want to be discreet, you can share it within Messenger. That's a good way to share quietly with that person. But share the information. It also helps Facebook's algorithms in making sure more people see it. So the more people like it, interact it. I saw that like go by. Thank you for the person that liked. That helps promote the video on Facebook. This video will also be pushed out to my YouTube channel, which is at richardsonlawoffices.tv. And you can watch it there, obviously, anytime, as well as on my Facebook page. And if you if you're watching it on YouTube and you like it, click that like button, that thumbs up button. Again, share it with somebody else. And if you like what you're seeing on my channel in general, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Click that little R button to subscribe. But that's it with the Lunch with a Lawyer, and I'll see you next month.